So this is the spheres exercise. It's going to be one of the most important exercises you're going to be able to do to heighten your control with your drawing materials. The first thing you're going to do in terms of your spheres exercise is you're going to draw a circle, because that's what a sphere is. It's a circle in 3D. Make that circle by drawing out the diameter. The way you want to establish the diameter is by marking out the top, bottom, left, and right. That way you can double check if the top and bottom are the same distance as the left and the right, then you're good to go. Then you can mark out the rest of the perimeter, like you're seeing now, with lots and lots of loose straight lines. Easy peasy. Go through that, and then what you're going to do is you're going to move on to drawing out the shadow structure. Before you do that, I would say probably a good idea is to clean up the lines a little bit, not too much. It's good to have a little bit of a rough edge, but I'll go into that a little bit more later. But have a little bit of a rough edge, but not too sloppy. You want to clean it up a little bit. The ideal thing is to make it as little work as possible, so you're not having to erase as much as possible. But in case you do it, you make sure you're clean. You have a nice clean circle. Once you have that circle established, you're going to start putting in the shadow shape. The shadow is pretty simple to put in. You're going to put in a 45-degree angle axis for your shadow shape. We are going to light this from a 3/4 perspective, a 3/4 lighting scenario, with the light hitting it at the top left corner, and you'll see that right now. So if you're having trouble finding a 45-degree angle, the way you want to do that is you can mark out a vertical axis and a horizontal axis, like you're seeing right now. After you get those two axes, you can mark out your 45-degree angle axis by putting a line through the halfway point in between those two axes. You're going to have an imaginary line. You're not going to draw all the way through it because you don't want a line going through your circle for reasons that you're going to see soon. But once you have that, you're going to mark out a quarter-way mark halfway between that imaginary line and the edge of the circle. And then once you have that, you put in the outline of the shadow shape. Once you have the shadow shape marked down, you're going to just put down black as black can be. And that is this stage. Just mark it black. Black as black can be. Black as my soul. Black as night. Black as an abyss. Do it. Black. Just go for it. Don't beat around the bush putting the black down. Just put it in. Just do it. So once you have that black in, you're going to go to the next step. When you're done massing in that very, very dark for that value structure, it's going to look like this. After you're done establishing this stage, you're going to go to the next stage, which is the black to white, the dark to light transition stage. This is the most important stage of the entire sphere. Make sure that you get this down perfectly. You're not going to get it perfectly the first time, but aim for perfection. Try to get this as nicely rendered as possible. Your goal with this is to go from your darkest dark, that shadow shape we just put down, to your lightest light, and end that lightest light right at that halfway axis, that imaginary line. We want that to end there. The middle part, where it's the widest part of the sphere that we're going, that's going to have the smoothest, slowest transition. or the slow. It's not the smoothest, but they're all going to be the smoothest, but you're going to have the slowest transition. You have the most room to transition nice and slowly. As you go towards the sides of that sphere, you have less room to go in a full transition. And the tricky part is making sure that the transition from dark to light is nice and smooth, even when it is more abrupt. Once you have that all in, though, you have a stage that looks like this, or better. Try to shoot for as clean as possible. If it's not clean, fix it. Once you do have it in, though, you're going to put in the white. The white is going to look like this. You're going to start off like this. With the white, because it's a harder material, you're going to want to start off a little lighter. Be careful burnishing the paper, but it's a good idea to see where the limits of your paper are, so you know how to go right up to those limits and not past them. See how hard you need to press that you will break the paper, break your pencil, burnish it, tear it, so you go right up to those points and you don't pass them. If you can get to those points and not pass them, you'll have the most efficient kind of workflow, at least for the pure white and the pure black. When you are putting this white in, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be transitioning out from this pure white with heavier pressure, tapering out your pressure into the black with less and less pressure. And what that's going to do is going to cause this merging of the two materials. Make sure that when you bring the white into the black that you're not tampering with that initial crescent moon shape. When you go into the black with the white, bring it back into the black, one scale at a time. Drag the white into the black, drag it that same scale back out to the white. Don't bring it directly back into the white by lifting up your pencil and putting it directly into the pure white, because what's going to happen is it's going to drag in and put in contaminated black stuff into the white. That's not going to be good. It's going to dirty up your pure white. And similarly, when you go to use the black and clean up this transition more, when you bring it into the white, and you're going to want to drag it back out to the black rather than pulling it off the paper and starting back in the black. That's going to drag some of that white into the black where you don't want it. You don't want to do that. So drag it back gradually rather than just putting it in the middle of the black. After a few passes of this, you're going to eventually build up the materials to have a nice smooth transition. This is a little bit of a process and it takes a little bit of time, so be patient, take your time with it, clean it up as best you can. Make sure it's nice and clean, super neat, super good transition, good value gradation, good value structure. Don't ruin your structure. The better it is, the better you're going to have an understanding of this mechanic and also how form works, at least for a sphere. This is going to be just real time. I'm not going to speed up the video, but at this point, it's just another couple minutes of going back and forth, black, white, black, white. For you, it may take a lot longer than this video to make a decent looking sphere. When I started working on these spheres over 10 years ago, when I first started doing spheres, my first spheres took about an hour, give or take, maybe a little bit more than an hour. Multiple spheres over and over again, doing repetition after repetition of these spheres. They eventually got quicker and they got better because I got a better understanding of how to be more efficient and more accurate, and my marks were better and they were more quickly done. That's the goal with this exercise, to be better, more accurate, and more confident and more efficient. If you can do something with less marks, with less time invested, and it looks better, that's a lot better than toiling away at something and it still looks like garbage. So as I mentioned, this is going to be a little bit longer of me going back and forth. I'm probably, what I'm doing now is I'm probably sharpening my pencil. But yeah, you're going to be going back and forth over and over again. I'll stop talking. It's going to be like this, going back and forth with me going black and white for another couple minutes. I will say this before I stop talking until the next stage. This process of stage 1, which I'm showing you now, was about 13 minutes. I can do them around 12 to 13, 15 minutes now. You're not going to be able to do that in 12, 15 minutes. You're not going to be able to do it. Just, it's not realistic. You're not going to be able to do it starting off like that. Don't feel bad if you are spending an hour on one of these and you're not getting to where you want to be. It's going to take a lot of practice. I've done hundreds of these, almost 1,000 of these, maybe over 1,000. I don't know. I'm not going to go back and calculate because I'll go nuts. But the fact is, the more you do of these, the better you're going to be, the better and more efficient you're going to be, the more you're going to understand how these materials merge into each other, how they mingle with each other, and how they function on your paper. So that said, the prescription I am going to give you for these, that your homework is going to be doing at least 3 pages front and back. If you can do these consistently, a whole page of these, I use the big sheets. If you can do a whole page of these front and back consistently good, as you can see, I'm cleaning up the edges. If you can do it cleaner without erasing, but as you can see, if you need to erase, it's better to clean it up with erasing than not erasing. If you can do these nice and clean and consistently good, then you're on the right track, and then you can move on to the next stage. But until you can get consistently perfect with these, do not move on to the next stage. If you're not going to be able to do it, stop the video after this picture. But this is what you should be aiming for. Try to get it as neat as this or neater. And until you can consistently do this, do not move on to the next stage. Don't do it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear about it. If you can't do this, don't do it. Don't go on to the next thing. Don't go on to the next thing until you can do this over and over and over again consistently. All right. So, welcome back. You've come back after practicing those over and over again. Maybe it's a month later. I don't know. Maybe it's 2 months later. And maybe it's 3 months later and you're still practicing it and you're almost there and you just want to peek at what you're doing next. You have your next stage of this sphere. You've perfected the art of making a sphere over and over and over again. You can consistently, confidently say, I can make a sphere from scratch, from my head, from looking at it. I know what a sphere looks like. I know what it looks like. I know how it works. Now I can put it in. What you're going to do now is you're going to establish a dark to light pattern from the white going up to halfway mark, and you're going to establish a white gradation, light to dark, going also from the bottom of the sphere up to the halfway mark. What this is the vertical gradation of how light dissipates as it moves away from a light source, and also it is the reflected light that bounces off of your surface that the sphere is sitting on. When light dissipates as it goes away from the object, away from the light source. It becomes less and less apparent, and also when it bounces off of the surface of the paper, it becomes a reflected light source. The table itself becomes a light source of a sense, and then it becomes something like this. It will end halfway, because after the halfway mark, it starts turning away from that table, that extra light source. So again, for this one, do 3 pages front and back. Try to get this consistent. Once you can consistently do this perfectly, then come back to this video. Don't come back to this video until you can get that perfect. Consistently perfect for a whole page. Don't come back to this video until then. Okay? Okay. Welcome back. You come back after another maybe 2 months, 3 months. I don't know how long it's been. Who knows how long it's been? Who knows what time is? Time is just a social and man-made construct to divide us all. I don't know what the deal is with time. What is time anyway? So this now is our cast shadow. If you are on this stage and you've come back after doing the other thing, you can do this actually before you do the reflected light on your sphere. Once you perfect this reflected light stage, of course, you come back to this and you do the cast shadow, which is an ellipse. So the good thing about this cast shadow stage is it is a primer for the next stage, which is cylinders. It is an ellipse. And the ellipse is basically a circle distorted. So what happens is you have an axis going horizontally and you have an axis going vertically. The top hemisphere of the axis is going to mirror the bottom half. The left is going to mirror the right. And you have this oval, essentially, that you are going to render slightly dark to light. Well, dark to slightly lighter, going left to right, like this. Your knowledge of scales come in handy, because you need to make sure that you are keeping this in a constrained environment. If you're rendering this in a way that is blowing the shape all out of proportion, then that's not good. If your ellipse is a little misshapen, take your eraser and fix it up. Ideally, you want to do that before you put in the massive value, like fix the line drawing before you put in your value. If you do your cast shadow after you do your reflected light, I would advise going back and cleaning up that value, because what's going to happen is putting in the cast shadow might ruin your shape of your sphere. So fix the shape of your sphere. If you do the cast shadow first and then you put in your reflected light, you can kind of carve out the shape off the bat and you don't have to reestablish that shape of the sphere. When you are done, as you can see, I'm cleaning up the cast shadow shape a little bit. But when you are done, it'll eventually look like what I'm about to show you in a moment. I'm not going to speed up the video. You'll see in a moment. But I'm cleaning up all this stuff right here. And it'll eventually look like the finished product, which is coming up soon. I should have some like kind of drum roll. You'll see. Alright, so it'll look like this. Bada boom. Alright, see? So you got your ellipse on the bottom, your cast shadow, you have a all this stuff. So again, practice this over and over and over again until you can consistently do it perfectly. Yeah. So if you like this, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Check out my website, yavorsky.com, yavorski.com. You can support me on Patreon. My Patreon username is ArtJerk. You can follow me on Twitch. Eventually, I'll start streaming again. I don't know when, but I will. But that's also ArtJerk. Follow me on Instagram, which is my name, Steven Yavorsky. And you could also do Twitch and Twitter, whatever. Follow me, and you can see what else I do. I'll have more of these videos like this, instructional shit like this, that will be able to help you guys. I want to supply this stuff for free, at least this core skill stuff. I want to give you that stuff for free because I feel like it should be common knowledge. It's pretty simple stuff, honestly. It's just a lot of hard work, So I'll see you later. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. I should have a catchphrase or something. I feel like YouTubers have catchphrases and I don't have a catchphrase. Bada bing, bada boom. Is that a catchphrase? I don't know. Who fucking cares? Okay, goodbye.